There is a quote that says, "Pain shared is pain divided. Joy shared is joy multiplied," by Dave Grossman. After a year of isolation, let's come together for a healing retreat where we companion and hold sacred space with each other. Expressing our shared experiences of isolation, pain, and change facilitates healing our hearts and reducing the anxiety that many of us have been feeling during this transition from isolation to re-entry. We will practice a variety of modalities to identify our feelings, to confidentially share our experiences, and to heal, and discover how the divine has shown up during the pandemic and also continues to show up in our lives as we re-enter into the world back to a new normal. This one-day retreat is an opportunity to transition back into the world with ease and grace. So go to the website unitytriangle.org for more details and to register. I hope to see you there. If you are looking for deep, transformational spiritual growth, you may want to consider our volunteer prayer chaplain program. Not only is becoming a prayer chaplain a powerful way to serve our spiritual community while opening your heart and praying confidentially one-on-one with individuals, the program also provides a special bond with people with common purpose. The prayer chaplain program is a higher level of commitment, and prayer chaplains serve for 1 year after receiving extensive training in affirmative prayer. So we only recruit once a year. If you feel the nudge to this call or would like to learn more about the prayer chaplain program, come to our informational meetings. You can also go to our website, unitytriangle.org, and reference the brochure for current information. Please come and explore if this is yours to do.
Morning, and please be welcome to our online Sunday experience. We'd like to just acknowledge your presence by honoring the Christ light in you. And in you, Neusom, I behold the Christ in you. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are we doing this morning?
Well, I think we're doing really well. We're going to be talking about non-attachment, which, so I'm trying not to be too attached to how I sound or look or anything, but yeah, I think we're doing pretty well.
I love the idea of non-attachment and surrender because in my own process, Neusom, what I have seen is that there are times where we can put a lot of emphasis on our intentions, our decrees, our prayers, our affirmations. But if we get too attached to a certain outcome in a certain way, it's not going to work. And part of the spiritual practice to me is to do our part and then surrender and trust that God will be doing its part in the right and perfect way and time. So I'm really looking forward to this talk this morning.
Thanks. Yeah, me too. So let's begin. Slow down.
lamppost, just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy, feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy, ba-da-da-da-da. Hello lamppost, what you knowin'? I've come to watch your flowers growing. Ain't you got no rhymes for me? Do-do-do, feeling groovy, feeling groovy. Got no deeds to do, no promises to keep. I'm dappled and drowsy, ready for sleep. Let the morning time drop all its petals on me. Like I love you, feeling groovy, feeling groovy. Feeling groovy.
Prayer ministry prays over the prayers placed in this prayer box. So if you would like to be a part of this prayer ministry through the Prayer Chaplain program, visit our website for more information. So now let us pray. We turn within to greet quiet moments with Spirit and to embrace the sanctity of the present moment. We surrender to the flow of life, releasing the need to force outcomes. As we acquiesce to divine will, all worry, frustrations, or anything that prevents our life force from being fully alive falls away. Energized and empowered, we stand in faith, trusting divine power rather than our willpower. We find respite in the truth of our being, that as a child of God, infinite possibilities are always available to us through the divine. Claiming this truth allows us to detach from outcome and trust God's goodness is unfolding in divine timing. We hold this truth for every name in this prayer box, for all those unnamed, and for ourselves. We commit to living from grace and in the flow of life, remembering thy will and not my will. With gratitude for these intentions, we rest in the assurance that all is well through Spirit, and so we let it be. Amen.
The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. All is beautiful, all is well, all is beautiful, all is well. The God in me
As we begin to meditate, we're going to take ourselves more deeply by letting the body adjust and get relaxed. So let's do that. And by paying attention to the breathing for a few moments. So let's do that. Feel the breath as it comes in, feel it as it goes out. The trick with this is just to bring your mind back to the breath, should it wander. And now let the breath also be focused in the heart so the heart can open. One of the powerful things we can do as we go deeper is to say an affirmation. So I invite you to think, feel, and quietly or silently say these words with me. I am enough unto myself. I am enough unto myself. I am enough unto myself. Touching into the highest aspect of ourselves, let us say, I am perfect right now. I am perfect right now. I am perfect right now. And realizing with that highest self as who we really are, I am where I need to be. I am where I need to be. I am where I need to be. And feeling the divine presence as yourself. I am wholeness infinite. I am wholeness infinite. I am wholeness infinite. Let those words sink in. Invite yourself to remember your highest aspect of who you are. And say your own words. From and as the divine presence that lives in you as you. Say these words not to make it so, but to realize it is already so. And as that divine presence, do you need anything? Now let us bring our attention again to the breath. Feel how as you breathe, the whole world breathes. Feel how you're floating on this sea of breath, rising with each breath, coming down with each exhale. Be this awareness. Be this peace. And let us sit together in holy silence. This is a beautiful day to talk about detachment, isn't it? To live in a world as we do with so much beauty and everything, and yet to realize that if we are attached to any one particular thing or things, that what will happen is that we will be drawn away from our center, and taken away from our center, we will begin to lose our spiritual identity, and that which we wish to possess will now possess us. So we're moving into the awareness today about the importance of detachment. And let me start off first by saying detachment does not mean a few things. It doesn't mean you have to become a monk, shave your head, give away all your possessions, and eat rice from a bowl for the rest of your life. It could be that even a more difficult and even perhaps a more rewarding path than being a monk, which is a good path, I must say. And it's not for everybody, but if it happens to be your path, then by all means take it. But the householder path, the path of living with others in a committed life where you have responsibilities in the world and you're also on your spiritual journey, this is the path of the householder. And in that path, you don't necessarily get rid of everything, but the trick is not to be attached. You still can have stuff, you can still have relationships, you can still have responsibilities in the world, you can still have a career. But the trick is to know how to place it in such a way that you still maintain the authority of your own life and you don't let anything rule you. I think for those of us who are control freaks, so to speak, which I'm not sure that's such a bad thing altogether, but those of us who like to manage their life, we lose control of our lives when we let something be so important that we cannot keep our mind clear, we cannot keep discernment active, when we lose our center and we lust or strive excessively for, or feel as though we could not be happy without, or in some ways we are lost when we feel like we are losing it. That is the attachment we're trying to break. Earlier we talked about discernment. And part of the process of being wise with detachment is to be able to discern what it is we're attached to and why. And when we can do that, and that comes with contemplation, of course, that comes with paying attention, it comes with a clear mind that is coming from a healthy body and a healthy mind, practices of eating well, being in nature, exercising properly, breathing deeply, reading spiritual books. When our mind becomes clear, it's easier to detach because we can see why we have chosen it. And as we were saying in a previous lesson, this idea of cultivating this aspect of our mind, this sattva, this spiritual aspect, versus the egotism or the sloth of the other ways of being, as we cultivate this, then we become more agile in spiritual practice. We become more agile because our mind is clear and sharp, because we can look at something long enough, steady enough, that we can see through the problem of the fog of not really wanting or not actually being able to see clearly what it is we've been doing, or what it is we really want, or what the problem really is. We can't see through it, and so since we can't see through it, we can't come to a clear decision about it. So we become indecisive, we become wishy-washy, we become helpless to the circumstances, we become cast adrift by whatever happens in that moment. And our strength is minimized because we have not been able to detach. I remember as a kid, especially as a teenager, the cool people, it looked like anything could happen and they would not be affected. This is a form of detachment. Now, perhaps it was faked, perhaps it wasn't true, but really it seemed like they knew something that those of us who were afraid, or those of us who wanted to be cool and couldn't be cool, it looked like they knew something we didn't know. And essentially, a detachment will give us that. It will redirect our identity toward our true self instead of the things that we think we need to have. And those things that we think we need to have could be as varied as a new car, or a new job, or a relationship, or any form of acknowledgement that comes from the community. If we feel like we have to have it, we will be so limited. You know, when we see politicians pandering to the electorate, we immediately kind of despise what they're doing. And when we do it ourselves, we lose our own self-esteem. We lose our self-esteem when we are drawn away from ourselves towards something else other than the self. So let's think about this. And I'll demonstrate this by talking about something that happened to me a while back. I had said in a previous talk that I had been paying attention to a property on the water, and I had always coveted this one, and I'd actually spent a couple of weekends just in my van there, and really had enjoyed being by the water and the beauty and everything about it. And my friend told me he sold it, and I was quietly devastated. I didn't let on the phone how much it had gotten to me, but it did. It got to me. And so I had a chance to sit with it in the next hour or so and see what it was that caused me to feel something in my chest that felt like a blow. And it turned out that in some ways, my identity had been wrapped up with the possibility of owning this at some time. My sense of being a person who owned something on the water. That had been part of essentially a family tradition for me. And so my brother and sister both have one. It was like I wanted to keep up with my siblings. There was a sense that the beauty of this would nurture my soul, and I kind of had committed some part of me to this idea that I could look out upon this on any time I chose to. There was also this fantasy that when I stopped working, there would be a new place to go, a new thing to do. All this was in there, and as I parsed it out, it helped me come closer to realizing that what I had been attached to, how I had been attached to this property, not just that I was attached. And while I was willing and able to feel the feelings, I was also willing to see the thought process that had caused those feelings to come about. And in so doing, I realized that this had been a substitute for resting in the self, resting in the pure awareness of who I really am. And so something had seemed like an answer to the problems of belonging and being adequate and being in beauty and being fulfilled. It was as though that would do that for me, when in fact it's just a piece of property. And the place of true fulfillment, the deeper place of fulfillment for those who are on the spiritual path, is not in a piece of property or in a boat or a particular person or anything. It's not in successes. It happens to be in surrendering into this, surrendering the ego, I guess, really, into this deeper place inside us, where we don't always get what we want. We don't always have the things in the outer that affirm us on an ego basis, that don't necessarily affirm our expectations. Those things, they can be missing, and yet we can be in a happier, deeper, richer place because we are not attached to them. Now, if we're not attached, we can also have them. We can have the pleasure of them, but we can have the loss of it. And if we're not spiritually bypassing, we will probably feel experiences of gain and loss, of joy and sadness. We'll feel that. But if we're in a detached mode, we can even have those experiences, those emotions, and still not be controlled by them. The freedom and the sense of happiness that comes with knowing who we really are can still persist even as we have the wins and losses and the emotions that go with it. And that is the real benefit of detachment. When you begin to get clear on how to detach, it allows your mind to gravitate toward that which is higher rather than what is the object of desire. Richard Rohr is a writer. He's a Catholic, Franciscan. And he's very articulate and wonderful, but I've been reading a book of his, and it's just a little fuzzy. And essentially what it is he's talking about the first half of life and the second half of life. And in the first half of life, we're so busy trying to get, do, and accomplish. And we're trying to follow the rules. We're trying to be that person who wins at the game of life. And that goes on, and for some people, they never get out of it. But in the second half of life, we begin to essentially detach from that. And we become ready to see that our commonality with other people. We're less prone to judgmentalism about other people. We recognize that in many ways we have been like those other people. We are, at our core, whether we've acted it out, we have felt or wanted to do what they have done. And in so doing, in many ways, we have made room for other people. We make room for other people to be who they are, but in the process, we're also making room for ourselves to be as we are. It's a beautiful thing. We can not have won every contest. We can actually find room to appreciate what the losses have taught us, and that we can make room for the idea that there's more to life than just winning. There's more to life than just following the rules. There's more to life than always looking good. And this is the beauty of the second half of life, when we begin to detach from having to do it the way we were told was success, and to realize that our deeper success is to be in relationship with the divine as it is in us and as we see it in others around us. And that process of having a deeper communion with that which is sacred supplants the need to do everything right, to be always successful, and to have everything be picture perfect. Now, I still want all those things, but I can see the wisdom of not being attached to them at the same time. I can see the wisdom that as I allow things to be imperfect, that I could retain more of my attention on that which is eternal and holy within me and within other people. I could begin to see the beauty even in the ugliness of the world if I was not completely attached to those things. If I was able to recognize that the complexity of life is in itself beautiful, and with that complexity often comes things that are messy and not so attractive. But if I was wise enough to release my need for it to be perfect, to being pretty, then I could actually see in the midst of the ugliness perhaps a deeper beauty, one in which there is something redemptive about it, even necessary. This, I think, is deepening in wisdom. And so a lot of what I think spiritual practice does for us is it pushes us up against our pain. It brings us to the point of pain, really, because it's often painful to recognize where we're failing, where we have failed, how we are not perfect, how we are unlovable almost as we are. And at the same time, it seems to open a doorway to the realization that that's not all of who we are. And that gives us the space to detach from the circumstances of our lives and to rest more often in this spiritual place, in this higher place. So contemplation and paying attention seem to be fundamental to this detachment process. It may hurt to recognize it. It may hurt to realize where we are failing, but it will also give us the steadiness to discern if that's really important or if it cannot be let go. So many of us have made mistakes in our lives that we find almost impossible to let go. And one form of detachment is that, to detach your addiction to feeling guilty or angry with yourself about something you did in the past. Let it go. Let that go for yourself. Let the other person's thing, whatever they did, let that go as well. Detach from being addicted to bringing your mind back to that painful situation and holding it so tight that it still affects you. Release it. Now, of course, you may feel guilt and stuff like that, and sometimes that's even appropriate, but there is a time and a place for that. And if we will learn the time and place through discernment, then there will be a time in which you will detach from it as well. So this is the process of opening to the divine, letting go of our attachments at this level so that we might rise above it to a higher level and experience that which is steady, that which is calm and beautiful, that which is bliss in itself, that knows itself to be complete and full. And so in no way could it be attached to anything because it needs nothing. Now, wouldn't that make you the coolest person at the party? To be that person who knows that? People can be doing whatever they're doing. You could be the least popular person there even. And yet you would know that you were okay. And in some ways, for those of us who like to control the situation, it is the ultimate in control, to rest in the divine and not be obsessed by what the things that happen on this plane are. I still think it's beautiful to go for something with gusto and earnestness, to play hard, to play to win, but to play with the knowing that it's not you. It's just what you're doing. And you're doing it for the fun of it, or for the experience, or for the betterment of others or something. But you're not completely attached to the outcome. The process of doing it is enough. This is a beautiful way to live, and it's a fine line to be on that path exactly. And so, of course, you'll fall off on either side, too detached or too attached. But holding the razor's edge is quite tricky. So one thing you'll have to learn is how to discern when to give yourself a hard time and when to lighten up. And in so doing, it makes it easier to stand on that razor's edge. So let's be happy with this day, just as it is. Be happy with ourselves as we are. Make improvements as we can, but do not be attached to all the things that entice us to give our freedom to. Let's hold our freedom to ourselves. Let's hold our minds on the divine. Let's be honest, make corrections, but let's also learn discernment and detachment. These will be helpful on the path. Let's do a meditation. So as we meditate, let's move into a still place within ourselves. Let the body and the mind quiet. Let the breath be deep and full, and let it hold your attention for a few minutes. So let's bring to mind something we feel as though is really important to us, a thing, a car, a house, a diamond ring, an heirloom, something that we are really attached to. And now let us imagine it is gone, irretrievably gone, and feel the loss. And now also feel the self that is still here, that did not leave when that left, that is poised, that is happy, and it's peaceful. Feel that. And now let's imagine somebody you feel very attached to, that you feel you could almost not live without. And imagine them gone, separated forever. Feel the loss. And feel what is still there. The you that is not lost in that process. The one that is steady. The one that is peaceful. The one that sees. and feel that. And breathing that in, let us come to a pause in this meditation and come to a close. And realize that this is always with us. The Self, the One, the Holy One, the Christ, known by many names. This is you. And so it is.
When I was just a little boy, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be handsome? Will I be rich? Here's what she said to me. Hey, Sera, Sera, whatever will be, will be. The future's never ours to see. Hey, Sera. And I grew up and fell in love. I asked my lover, what will we be? Will we be happy? Will we be rich? They told me faithfully, yes, whatever will be, will be. The future's never ours to see. Hey, Sera, hey, hey, whatever will be. The future's never ours to see. Hey, Sera. Now I have children of my own. They ask their dad, what will we be? Will we be happy? Will we be rich? And I tell them faithfully, yes, Sera, Sera, whatever will be, yeah, it's gonna be, and the future's not ours.
Felt like coming in and bumping into Neusom and clapping. I'm sure that's what you're doing. What a beautiful message and a beautiful meditation. Thank you so much. We are really blessed to have our senior minister, so much talent and wisdom that he gets to share with us every single Sunday morning. Thank you so much. And thank you, all of you, for being part of the spiritual community. As I was listening to Neusom, some phrase kept resonating in me, which is something that many times as I have been in deep meditation, this phrase comes out, and the phrase is, God is enough. I am enough. And when we experience that fullness of spirit in us, everything else is a complement. But we are fully satisfied when we are in that complete state of union and beauty and connection. Hope it becomes your experience, at least what we aim for. One of my favorite quotes from Jesus is, "Seek ye the kingdom of God first, and everything will be added on to you." Things come as a byproduct, not that we're forcing into them. We know that we got us, we got God, and that is enough. So I just had to say that regarding the talk. Now we're going to switch into a moment that we get to express our gratitude in a spiritual and material way. Join me in saying, "Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all the good that I am, all the good that I have, all the good that I give, and all the good that I receive." And so it is. Amen. And now, as it is time to say goodbye, we would like to remind everybody that next Sunday, June 20th, Father's Day, not only are we having our 9 o'clock online service, our 11 o'clock online service, and in-person service, but we get to come back in the afternoon and have a summer solstice celebration. At 6:30, we're going to get together. We're going to do some sort of ritual. We're going to share some ice cream, and then we're going to have the open mic folks bringing their talent and joining in as a unity family that we are to enjoy our time together during this summertime. Hope you can make it, and we look forward to seeing you then and seeing you soon. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.